I watched my mother deliberately pop the gender reveal balloon 10 minutes before our party started. Pink confetti scattered across the floor like shattered dreams. She stood there with that cold smile and said, "You can always have another baby." My wife Heather burst into tears beside me. My hands shook with rage as I heard car doors slamming outside. Guests were arriving. This was supposed to be our perfect moment. After 3 miscarriages, after 3 years of trying, after so much pain. My mother had just destroyed it, and from the calculating look in her eyes, I realized something that made my blood run cold. This was not an accident. The doorbell rang. I stood frozen, staring at the pink confetti on our living room floor while Heather sobbed in my arms. My mother brushed past us, smoothing her floral dress like nothing had happened. "I will get the door," she announced cheerfully. I heard her greeting our friends Tyler and Jessica at the entrance. Come in, come in. We have had a little accident, but everything is fine." Heather pulled away from me, wiping her eyes. "I need to fix my makeup," she whispered. At 7 months pregnant, she moved slowly toward the bathroom. I watched her go, feeling helpless. More guests arrived. My coworker Brad and his wife Amanda. Our neighbors from down the street, the Johnsons. Heather's best friend Sarah, with her husband. They all brought gifts wrapped in yellow paper, their faces bright with anticipation. They had no idea what had just happened. I tried to put on a smile. The room filled with chatter and laughter. I had spent 2 weeks planning this party. The decorations were perfect. Blue and pink streamers hung from the ceiling. A table groaned under the weight of sandwiches, fruit platters, chips, and a beautiful cake from the bakery downtown. The cake was supposed to reveal the gender when we cut it. Now that moment was ruined. My mother moved through the crowd like a gracious hostess. She hugged everyone, laughed at their jokes, and offered them drinks from our kitchen. People kept asking where the balloon was. "Oh, Ferdinand is so clumsy," my mother announced loudly. "He popped it early while we were setting up. Can you believe it?" My jaw dropped. She was lying right to their faces. Brad looked at me with confusion. I never dropped things. I worked as a mechanical engineer. Precision was literally my job. "That does not sound like Ferdinand," Brad said carefully. "Oh, you know how nervous expecting fathers get." My mother laughed, touching his arm. "He has been so anxious about everything." I felt my face burning. Heather emerged from the bathroom, her eyes still red but her makeup reapplied. She gave me a weak smile. We had practiced our announcement speech for days. Now we would have to improvise. I cleared my throat and raised my voice. "Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" The room quieted. 20 faces turned toward us. Heather came to stand beside me, and I took her hand. It was trembling. "Thank you all for coming today," I began. "As you know, we have been waiting a long time for this moment. Heather and I have been through a lot to get here." Several people nodded. Our close friends knew about the miscarriages, the months of grief, the fear that we might never have children. So even though the balloon reveal did not work out, I continued, trying to keep my voice steady. "We are thrilled to announce that we are having a girl." The room erupted in cheers and applause. People rushed forward to hug us. Sarah was crying happy tears. Amanda squeezed my shoulder. For a moment, I felt the joy we had been anticipating. Then my mother's voice cut through the celebration. "Well, at least you got the girl you wanted. Now you can stop trying." The room went quiet. People looked confused. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked. My mother smiled widely. "Oh, Ferdinand always said he did not want sons because they reminded him of his father." My stomach dropped. That was a complete lie. My father had died 5 years ago from cancer. I loved him. He taught me how to fix cars, how to be honest, how to treat people with respect. I had never said anything like what my mother was claiming. "Mom, that is not true," I said quietly. "Of course it is, honey." She waved her hand dismissively. "You told me last Christmas. You said boys are too much trouble." More confusion in the room. Heather squeezed my hand hard. This was humiliating. "I never said that," I insisted, louder now. "I love Dad. Everyone here knows that." Brad nodded. "Yeah, Ferdinand talked about his dad all the time at work, always with respect. My mother's smile tightened. Well, perhaps I misremembered. Anyway, the important thing is we are having a baby girl. But the damage was done. The joy had drained from the room. People started making excuses to leave early. They had other commitments, they remembered. Things they forgot about. Within 30 minutes, half our guests were gone. I found my mother in the kitchen, cutting herself a slice of our gender reveal cake. Pink filling spilled out. She was filming it with her phone. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Just documenting the day," she said sweetly. "For memories." "You have been filming this whole time?" "Of course. I want to remember my granddaughter's special day." Something in her tone made my skin crawl. I noticed her phone was propped against the fruit bowl, camera facing outward toward the living room. "Mom, you need to leave," I said quietly. "Excuse me?" "You ruined our party. You lied about me to our friends. You need to go." She set down her cake plate with deliberate slowness. "Ferdinand, you are being dramatic. It is just a party. You are so sensitive, just like when you were a little boy. It was not just a party. This meant everything to us." "Oh, please." She rolled her eyes. "You can have another party. You can have another baby, if this one does not work out." Her words hit me like a slap. If this one does not work out, after everything we had been through. "Get out," I said, my voice shaking. "Get out of my house right now." She picked up her purse slowly, making me wait. "You will regret speaking to your mother this way." After she left, I found Heather sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. The remaining guests had all gone home. Our beautiful party decorations seemed to mock us. I sat beside her and pulled her close. "I am so sorry. It is not your fault," she whispered, but I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. Later that night, after Heather went to bed, I noticed my mother had left her phone on our kitchen counter. She must have been in such a hurry to make her dramatic exit that she forgot it. I picked it up. The screen was unlocked. I knew I should not look, but something made me tap the Facebook icon. My blood turned to ice. She had been live streaming. The entire party had been broadcast to a Facebook group called Grandparents' Rights Advocacy. Over 300 people had watched. The video was still up, and comments were pouring in. "This poor grandmother is being excluded from her grandchild's life. The son is clearly emotionally abusive. She is documenting parental alienation. Smart woman. Grandparents have rights too. She should sue for visitation." My mother had added her own commentary as text over the video. "My son humiliated me at what should have been a family celebration. I am being pushed out of my granddaughter's life before she is even born. Please share this so people understand what grandparents go through." The video had been shared 60 times already. I sat down hard in a kitchen chair. This was not about a ruined party. This was calculated, planned, documented. My mother was building a case against me, and she was doing it publicly. I had thought popping the balloon was the problem. Now I realized it was just the beginning. I woke up the next morning to my phone vibrating continuously. Heather was still asleep beside me, her hand resting on her belly. I carefully got out of bed and checked my notifications. 217 messages. My hands shook as I scrolled through them. Most were from numbers I did not recognize. The messages were vicious. "You should be ashamed of yourself, keeping a grandmother from her grandchild. What kind of son treats his mother like that? I hope someone calls CPS on you. You are an abusive piece of garbage." Some were even worse. Graphic threats about what people wanted to do to me. I felt sick. I opened Facebook. My mother's live stream had been shared over 300 times now. It had spread to multiple groups with names like Grandparents Denied, Family Rights Warriors, and Alienated Grandparents Support Network. Each share came with my mother's narrative about being excluded and mistreated. Someone had found my work email. My inbox was flooded with messages calling me a family abuser. Someone had even sent a message to my boss, Garrett, with the subject line concerning behavior from your employee. I called my mother. She answered on the first ring. "Good morning, Ferdinand. You need to take down that video." "What video?" "You know exactly what video." The live stream from yesterday. Oh, that. Well, I was just sharing my experience with my support group. Grandparents need community too. You posted our home address in the comments. Did I? Oh my. These new phones are so confusing. Her voice was too innocent. Too sweet. She knew exactly what she had done. People are threatening me, I said. Strangers are sending me hate mail. Well, perhaps you should reflect on why people are responding that way. Actions have consequences, Ferdinand. I am asking you nicely. Please take it down. No, I do not think I will. This is my story to tell. She hung up. I spent the next 2 hours trying to report the video to Facebook. But according to their community standards, my mother had not violated any rules. She was allowed to share her perspective. At 9 in the morning, my boss called. Ferdinand, we need to talk, Garrett said. His voice was formal, not the friendly tone he usually used. Can you come to the office? Is this about the emails? Just come in, please. I got dressed quietly, trying not to wake Heather. I left her a note, saying I had to run to work for a few hours. Garrett's office felt cold. He sat behind his desk with his hands folded. Linda from Human Resources was there too. Never a good sign. Ferdinand, we received some concerning messages about you yesterday, Garrett began, along with a video that has been circulating online. That video is taken out of context, I said quickly. My mother deliberately sabotaged our gender reveal party and then lied about it to make me look bad. Linda pulled out her tablet and showed me the screen. My mother's live stream was paused on a frame where I was pointing my finger at her in the kitchen. From that angle, frozen in that moment, I looked angry. Aggressive. We have had 15 different people contact us, Linda said. They are claiming you are abusive toward your mother. Several have threatened to boycott our company if we continue to employ you. That is insane. They do not even know me. Nevertheless, we have to take these complaints seriously, Garrett said. He looked uncomfortable. We are putting you on administrative leave while we investigate the situation. You are suspending me? It is paid leave, Linda added quickly. Just until this blows over. This is my mother's manipulation, I insisted. She is lying to make me look bad. Ask anyone who actually knows me. We have spoken to Brad, Garrett said. He vouches for your character. But we still need to distance the company from this controversy until it is resolved. I left the building feeling numb. Paid leave sounded good in theory, but I knew what it really meant. People at work would gossip. My reputation was damaged. Even if I came back, there would always be whispers. When I got home, Heather was up. She was sitting at the kitchen table with her phone, her face pale. Ferdinand, she whispered. Something is wrong. What is it? I have been having contractions. They are getting stronger. Fear shot through me. How long? About an hour. I did not want to worry you, but I think we need to go to the hospital. I grabbed our hospital bag. We had packed it weeks ago, just in case. Heather moved slowly to the car, breathing through another contraction. The drive to the hospital took 20 minutes that felt like hours. Heather was only 32 weeks pregnant. Too early. Way too early. In the emergency room, they hooked Heather up to monitors. A doctor I did not recognize examined her while I held her hand. The contractions are real, the doctor said. But the baby is not in immediate distress. Mrs. Parker, have you been under unusual stress lately? Heather started crying. I told the doctor about the party, about my mother, about the online harassment. The doctor's expression turned serious. Stress can trigger early labor. I am going to give you medication to stop the contractions, but you need to understand something. Your mental and emotional health directly affects your baby. Whatever is causing this stress, it needs to stop immediately. We are trying, I said helplessly. Try harder, the doctor said bluntly. Or you will be having this baby in a NICU incubator, fighting for every breath. Is that what you want? Of course not, Heather sobbed. After 4 hours, the medication worked. The contractions slowed and then stopped. The doctor ordered complete bed rest for Heather. No stress, no excitement, no drama. As we were getting ready to leave, a nurse pulled me aside in the hallway. Mr. Parker, I need to tell you something, she said quietly. She was an older woman with kind eyes. Her name tag read Dorothy. What is it? I have seen your mother here. Multiple times over the past few weeks. My stomach dropped. What? She comes to the maternity ward. She tells the staff she is concerned about her daughter-in-law's pregnancy. She asks invasive questions about Mrs. Parker's medical condition, what medications she is on, whether there are any complications. That is a violation of privacy. We have not told her anything, Dorothy assured me, but she is persistent. Last week, she tried to access Mrs. Parker's medical records at the front desk. We stopped her. But the behavior is concerning. I think you should know. Thank you for telling me. There is something else. Dorothy glanced around to make sure no one was listening. This kind of behavior, showing up repeatedly, trying to access private information, asking staff inappropriate questions. That is, stalking, Mr. Parker. You might want to document it. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I did not know. Your mother is in the waiting room. She wants to see you. I walked to the waiting room with Dorothy following at a distance. My mother was there, sitting calmly in a plastic chair. But she was not alone. A man in an expensive suit sat beside her. He had a leather briefcase, and the confident posture of someone who made a lot of money. Ferdinand. My mother stood up, smiling. I heard Heather was here. Is everything all right with the baby? How did you know we were here? A mother knows these things. The man in the suit extended his hand. Gregory Walsh. I am your mother's attorney. I did not shake his hand. Why does she need an attorney? We are here to discuss a peaceful resolution to this family conflict, Gregory said smoothly. Your mother is concerned about her granddaughter's well-being. She simply wants what is best for the child. By stalking my wife at the hospital, my mother's expression shifted. I am not stalking anyone. I am concerned. There is a difference. Let's all calm down, Gregory said. Mrs. Sullivan has rights as a grandparent. In this state, grandparents can petition the court for visitation. We are hoping to avoid legal action by reaching an agreement. An agreement about what? Reasonable access to the child after birth, Gregory said. Regular visits, updates on the baby's health, inclusion in important decisions. She deliberately sabotaged our gender reveal party, I said. She posted our address online. She has been stalking my wife. Why would I agree to anything? Because the alternative is court, Gregory said simply. And court is expensive, time-consuming, stressful, especially for a pregnant woman. It was a threat, a clear, calculated threat. My mother smiled. I will be in touch, dear. Take care of Heather. They left together, Gregory Walsh's business card sitting on the chair where he had been sitting. I picked it up. On the back, my mother had written in her neat handwriting, I always get what I want. 3 days later, a process server showed up at our door. Heather was on the couch following doctor's orders for bed rest. I signed for the envelope with shaking hands. The moment I saw the law firm's name on the return address, I knew. What is it? Heather asked. I opened it. Legal documents spilled out. A petition for grandparents' rights. My mother was suing us for court, ordered visitation with our unborn child. I read through the paperwork with growing horror. My mother claimed I had significant mental health issues that impaired my judgment. She said I was isolating Heather from family support systems. She presented the live stream video as evidence of my aggressive and unstable behavior. This cannot be legal, Heather said, reading over my shoulder. The baby is not even born yet. But it was legal. In our state, grandparents could petition for visitation rights if they could prove it was in the child's best interest. My mother was arguing that our daughter needed protection from my alleged instability. The court date was set for 3 weeks away. I called every lawyer in town. Most were too expensive. We finally found someone we could afford, a young attorney named Patrick Chen, who had just started his own practice. His office was in a converted house near the courthouse. Patrick reviewed the case with a frown. He was maybe 30 years old, wearing a tie that did not quite match his shirt. This is a weak case, he said finally. But that does not mean it will not cost you. How much? I asked. To defend against this? with court costs and preparation, probably $15,000. Heather made a small sound in her throat. We did not have $15,000. We had been saving for the baby, for medical bills and diapers and furniture. Is there any other option? I asked. You could try to settle, Patrick suggested. Agree to some limited visitation. That might make this go away. My mother does not want limited visitation, I said. She wants control. Then you fight, Patrick said simply. But you need to understand what you are up against. Your mother has a good lawyer. Gregory Walsh does not come cheap. Someone is funding this, and they are prepared for a long battle. We left Patrick's office in a daze. Heather was quiet in the car. Too quiet. We cannot afford this, she finally said. We will figure it out. How? You are on leave from work. We have a baby coming. We have medical bills. I will get a second job. I will do whatever it takes. Ferdinand. She put her hand on mine. Maybe we should just give her what she wants. What? Sign an agreement. Let her visit sometimes. It is better than going broke fighting this. Heather, you do not understand what you are saying. If we give in now, she will own us. She will control our entire lives. But at least we would have lives. Heather's voice broke. At least we could afford to feed our baby. At least I could stop being so stressed that I almost go into early labor every other day. She was right. The stress was killing us, literally endangering our baby's life. That night, my mother called. Hello, Ferdinand. Have you received my attorney's documents? You know I have. I do not want to fight you in court, she said, her voice syrupy sweet. I am a reasonable woman. If you agree to sign a grandparent agreement, I will drop the lawsuit. What kind of agreement? Simple terms. I get to visit the baby twice a week. Overnight visits once a month. I am included in all major decisions regarding her health and education. I get copies of all medical records and school reports. That is insane. That is grandmotherly love. Take it or leave it. But think carefully. Court will cost you everything. I hung up on her, but her words haunted me. Court would cost us everything. Our savings. Our peace. Possibly our baby's health. 2 days later, Heather's contractions started again. We rushed back to the hospital. The same doctor gave us the same lecture about stress. But this time, the contractions were stronger. They gave Heather medication and kept her overnight for observation. I sat beside her hospital bed, watching monitors track our daughter's heartbeat. Each beep felt like a countdown. How long could we keep doing this? Sign the agreement, Heather whispered in the dark. Please, Ferdinand. I cannot take this anymore. I was about to respond when my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Ferdinand? This is Lydia. Your sister. I nearly dropped the phone. Lydia and I had not spoken in 5 years. She had cut off all contact with the family right after her second child was born. I always wondered why, but she never returned my calls or messages. Lydia? How did you get my number? I saw Mom's video. It is all over those grandparent groups. I need to talk to you. In person. Tonight. I am at the hospital with Heather. Which hospital? I will come there. This cannot wait. An hour later, Lydia showed up in the waiting room. She looked older than I remembered, tired. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she wore jeans and an old college sweatshirt. We sat in the corner, away from other people. I have been following what is happening to you, Lydia said without preamble. The party, the lawsuit, all of it. Why did you cut contact? I asked. I tried to reach you so many times. Because of Mom. What? Lydia pulled out her phone and showed me a thick folder of documents. Court papers, legal agreements, medical records. 5 years ago, when I had my daughter Grace, Mom did the exact same thing to me. The exact same pattern. She sabotaged my baby shower, started spreading lies about me online, then sued for grandparents' rights. I stared at the documents. They were almost identical to what my mother had filed against me. The same claims about mental instability. The same arguments about the child's best interests. What happened? I asked. I signed the agreement, Lydia said quietly. I was young, scared. My husband and I could not afford to fight. So we signed. Mom got visitation rights every weekend, overnight stays, decision-making power. That does not sound so bad. It was hell, Ferdinand. She used those rights to control everything. Every parenting decision had to go through her. If I bought the wrong brand of diapers, she threatened to take me back to court. When Grace was 2, I wanted to put her in a specific preschool. Mom disagreed. She sued again to stop it, and won, because the agreement gave her input on educational decisions. My blood ran cold. For how long? Until Grace turned 18. 6 months ago. That is when I finally cut contact completely. But by then, the damage was done. Grace barely speaks to me. Mom convinced her over the years that I was an unfit mother, that she was the one who really raised her. Oh my God. You cannot sign that agreement, Ferdinand, Lydia said urgently. Whatever you do, do not sign. It will give Mom legal power over your child for 18 years. You will never be free. But Heather cannot take the stress. The baby is in danger. I know. That is exactly what Mom is counting on. That is how she wins. She tortures you until you are too exhausted to fight back. I put my head in my hands. There has to be another way. There is. I have documentation of everything Mom did to me. Court records showing her pattern of behavior. I have witnesses, and I am willing to testify. Would that help? Patrick Chen is your lawyer, right? I saw his name on some Facebook posts. Call him. Tell him about me. We can prove Mom has done this before. That she has a pattern of using the court system to abuse her own children. Hope flickered in my chest for the first time in days. But Lydia's next words extinguished it. Ferdinand, there is something else. Something worse. I hacked into Mom's email last week. I know that is illegal, but I had to know what she was planning. She has filed for emergency custody of your baby. What? She is claiming Heather is mentally unfit. That the stress-related hospital visits prove she cannot handle motherhood. She is asking the court to give her custody the moment the baby is born. The world tilted. When is the hearing? 2 days from now. Emergency custody hearings are fast. You might not even get notified until it is too late. I called Patrick immediately. He answered on the 3rd ring, groggy. Patrick, this is Ferdinand Parker. My mother filed for emergency custody. We have a hearing in 2 days. Silence on the other end. Then, how do you know that? My sister told me. Can she do that? If she can convince a judge there is immediate danger to the child, yes. Emergency custody hearings are serious, Ferdinand. You need to be ready to fight. I do not even know if we can afford your retainer. We will figure that out. Right now, I need you to gather every piece of documentation you have. Text messages, videos, anything showing your mother's harassment. And I need to talk to your sister. If she has court records from her own case, that could be crucial. I hung up and looked at Lydia. Thank you for coming. I should have come sooner, she said. I should have warned you years ago, but I was ashamed. I felt like I failed Grace. You did not fail. Mom manipulated you. And now she is trying to manipulate you. But you have something I did not have. What? Advance warning. I can help you fight back. 2 days later, we stood in a courthouse, facing the biggest battle of our lives. The courthouse smelled like floor polish and old paper. Heather sat in a wheelchair, because walking from the parking lot had triggered mild contractions. Her face was pale, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion. I stood beside her, wearing the only suit I owned, my hands clenched into fists. My mother arrived with Gregory Walsh and 2 other attorneys. 3 lawyers against our 1. She looked confident, dressed in a modest blue dress and pearls. She had styled her hair perfectly. She looked like someone's sweet grandmother, not a manipulative predator. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. The judge, a stern-looking woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Morrison, sat behind a raised bench. A court reporter typed silently in the corner. This is an emergency custody hearing regarding baby Parker, unborn child of Ferdinand and Heather Parker, Judge Morrison said. Mrs. Ellen Sullivan is petitioning for temporary custody upon the child's birth. Mr. Walsh, you may present your case. Gregory Walsh stood smoothly. Your Honor, my client is a loving grandmother who is deeply concerned for her unborn granddaughter's welfare. She has witnessed disturbing behavior from her son that suggests he is unfit to parent. He played the live stream video on a large screen. The angle made me look aggressive. The moment where I pointed at my mother in the kitchen was frozen and highlighted. As you can see, Mr. Parker displays anger management issues. He has publicly humiliated his mother. He has isolated his wife from family support. Mrs. Parker has been hospitalized twice with stress-related complications. This pattern suggests an unhealthy environment for a newborn. Patrick stood up. Objection. This video is taken out of context. Mrs. Sullivan deliberately sabotaged the gender reveal party and then live-streamed her son's reaction without his knowledge. Nevertheless, the stress is real, Gregory continued. Mrs. Parker's medical records show 2 emergency room visits in the past week. The attending physician documented that stress is triggering early labor. This baby is in danger if born into that environment. My mother took the stand. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue as she spoke. I only want what is best for my granddaughter, she said, her voice trembling. Ferdinand has always been emotionally unstable. Even as a child, he had anger problems. I am afraid for that baby's safety. Can you provide examples? Gregory asked. When Ferdinand was 12, he punched a wall and broke his hand. When he was 16, he got into fights at school. His father and I had to put him in therapy for years. Lies. All lies. I had never punched a wall. I had been in one fight in high school when I defended a kid from bullies, and my parents never put me in therapy. Patrick stood again. Your Honor, I would like to call witnesses to refute these claims. Proceed, Judge Morrison said. Brad from my work took the stand. I have known Ferdinand for 7 years. He is the calmest, most level-headed person I know. He never loses his temper, never raises his voice. The idea that he is violent or unstable is ridiculous. But Gregory cross-examined him skillfully. How often do you see Mr. Parker outside of work? Well, not often. We are co-workers. So you do not actually know how he behaves at home, do you? No. But, thank you. No further questions. 3 people from my mother's church took the stand next. They all testified that I was controlling and isolated Heather from family, that my mother had confided in them about her concerns, that she was a pillar of the community who only wanted to help. Patrick asked them pointed questions. Have you ever met Ferdinand Parker? No. But Ellen has told us. Have you ever been to the Parker home? No. But have you ever witnessed any of the behavior you are describing? No. But Ellen is a trustworthy person. It did not matter that they were testifying to hearsay. They were painting a picture of my mother as a concerned grandmother trying to protect a child from a dangerous father. The judge seemed to be leaning in my mother's favor. I could see it in the way she nodded at Gregory's arguments, the way she frowned when Patrick objected. Your Honor, Patrick said desperately, I have additional evidence that shows Mrs. Sullivan has a pattern of this behavior. She previously sued her daughter for grandparents' rights using nearly identical tactics. Objection, Gregory said. Past legal actions are not relevant to this case. They are relevant if they show a pattern of manipulation and abuse of the court system, Patrick argued. Judge Morrison considered. I will allow limited testimony on this matter. But before Patrick could call Lydia to the stand, the courtroom doors burst open. Lydia rushed in, breathing hard. She was followed by a man in a suit I did not recognize. Your Honor, I apologize for the disruption, Lydia said. I am Lydia Parker, Ferdinand's sister. I have evidence that this court needs to see. Miss Parker, this is highly irregular, Judge Morrison said. I understand, but this evidence is crucial. My mother did this exact same thing to me 5 years ago. She used identical tactics, identical claims, and identical witnesses. Some of these same church people testified in my case. Gregory stood quickly. Your Honor, Miss Parker has not been sworn in. This is inappropriate. Swear me in right now, Lydia said. because what I have to say will change everything. The man in the suit stepped forward. Your Honor, I am David Brennan, Miss Parker's attorney. I have court documents from Miss Parker's case that show a disturbing pattern. Judge Morrison looked annoyed, but intrigued. Very well. Miss Parker, approach the bench. Lydia was sworn in. David Brennan pulled out a thick folder. Your Honor, 5 years ago, Mrs. Ellen Sullivan sued her daughter Lydia for grandparents' rights. The petition used nearly identical language to the one filed today. She claimed her daughter was mentally unstable. She presented witnesses from her church who had never met Lydia. She even used the same attorney, Gregory Walsh. Gregory's expression did not change, but I saw a flicker of concern. David continued, Mrs. Sullivan won that case. She was granted extensive visitation rights and decision-making power. For 5 years, she used those rights to control every aspect of Lydia's parenting. Any decision Lydia made was subject to Mrs. Sullivan's approval. When Lydia tried to put her daughter in a preschool Mrs. Sullivan disagreed with, Mrs. Sullivan sued again to block it. Your Honor, this is character assassination, Gregory objected. Mrs. Sullivan was granted those rights by a court. The court found her case legitimate. The court was deceived, Lydia said. Her voice was strong now. Just like you are being deceived today. My mother is not a concerned grandmother. She is a control freak who uses the legal system to torture her own children. That is a serious accusation, Judge Morrison said. I can prove it. Lydia pulled out her phone. I have text messages where my mother admitted to deliberately creating conflict, where she bragged to her friends about using the courts to teach me a lesson. I have messages where she said, and I quote, "If they will not respect me voluntarily, I will force them legally." David Brennan handed printed copies to the judge. Morrison read them, her expression darkening. There is more, Lydia said. We have discovered that my mother has done this to 4 different family members over the past 20 years. My Aunt Susan, my cousin Jennifer, my uncle's ex-wife, and now Ferdinand. She has a pattern of targeting family members who set boundaries with her. She uses grandchildren as weapons to maintain control. These are outrageous lies, my mother shouted from her seat. Are they? Lydia turned to face her. Then explain why Aunt Susan has a restraining order against you in Colorado. Explain why cousin Jennifer moved to Oregon and changed her name. Explain the warrant for your arrest in Arizona for stalking and harassment. The courtroom went silent. There is a warrant? Judge Morrison asked. David Brennan nodded. Yes, Your Honor. From 2019. Mrs. Sullivan allegedly stalked her former sister-in-law after a divorce. She was charged with harassment and stalking. She failed to appear for court, and a warrant was issued. Gregory Walsh looked genuinely surprised. Either my mother had not told him, or he was a very good actor. Your Honor, I knew nothing about this, Gregory said. I should hope not, Judge Morrison said coldly. She looked at my mother. Mrs. Sullivan, is this true? My mother's face had gone red. That situation was completely different. That woman was keeping my nephew from me. I had to take action. By stalking her, I was monitoring the situation. That is the definition of stalking, Mrs. Sullivan. Patrick jumped in. Your Honor, we also have evidence from just last week. Hospital staff can testify that Mrs. Sullivan has been repeatedly showing up at the maternity ward, trying to access Heather Parker's confidential medical records, and asking inappropriate questions about the pregnancy. A nurse filed an incident report. Gregory looked at my mother. She avoided his eyes. Judge Morrison leaned back in her chair. This is extremely troubling. Mr. Walsh, did you know about any of this history when you filed this petition? No, Your Honor. Mrs. Sullivan presented herself as a concerned grandmother being denied access to her grandchild. It seems there is significantly more to this story. Morrison looked at the documents in front of her. However, I am not prepared to dismiss this case entirely based solely on past behavior. My heart sank. Therefore, I am ordering a family evaluation period. Mrs. Sullivan will be granted supervised visitation once the baby is born, while a court-appointed evaluator investigates the family dynamics. The evaluator will interview both parties review documentation, and make a recommendation. Your Honor, that is unacceptable, Patrick said. You are forcing my clients to allow contact with someone who has demonstrated a pattern of harassment and manipulation. It is supervised visitation, Counselor. Mrs. Sullivan will not be alone with the child, and if Mr. and Mrs. Parker refuse, they will be held in contempt of court. This is my ruling. The gavel came down. I looked at Heather. She was crying silently. We had not lost entirely, but we had not won either. We would be forced to let my mother into our baby's life, even temporarily. The nightmare was not over. It was just beginning a new phase. My mother stood up, smoothing her dress. She looked directly at me and smiled. Not a warm smile, a knowing smile. She had not gotten everything she wanted, but she had gotten enough. As we left the courthouse, Lydia grabbed my arm. This is not over, she said. That evaluator is the key. If we can prove to them what Mom really is, we can still win this. How? I asked hopelessly. Document everything. Record every interaction. Get evidence. What if that is not enough? Lydia's expression was grim. Then you do what I should have done 5 years ago. You fight until there is nothing left to fight with. 1 week later, Heather went into labor at 34 weeks. Our daughter Emma was born weighing 4 pounds and 12 ounces. She was tiny, fragile, and perfect. They took her immediately to the NICU for monitoring. And my mother showed up at the hospital with her court order, ready to meet her granddaughter. Emma lay in a clear plastic incubator, no bigger than a loaf of bread. Wires connected her tiny body to machines that beeped steadily. A feeding tube ran through her nose. The NICU was warm and dim, hushed voices and quiet alarms creating a constant background hum. Heather had not left the chair beside Emma's incubator since the emergency C-section 24 hours ago. Her face was gray with exhaustion and pain. The doctors said the stress had triggered early labor. Another thing I could blame on my mother. A nurse approached us. Her name was Catherine, and she had been kind and patient as we learned to navigate being NICU parents. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, there is someone here to see the baby. She has a court order. My stomach dropped. I had known this was coming, but I had hoped for a few days of peace. Just a few days to bond with our daughter without interference. Please do not let her in, Heather whispered. I am sorry, Catherine said gently. The order says supervised visitation is to begin immediately after birth. We cannot refuse without risking contempt charges. The court-appointed evaluator arrived first. Her name was Sharon Miller, a tired-looking woman in her 50s carrying a clipboard. She wore glasses on a chain and sensible shoes. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, I will be observing this visit and all subsequent interactions. Please understand I am here to determine what is best for your daughter. Then my mother arrived. She wore a soft pink dress and carried a teddy bear bigger than Emma. She had done her makeup perfectly and styled her hair. She looked like the picture of a loving grandmother. Oh my goodness, she exclaimed loudly. Several other NICU parents looked over. My beautiful granddaughter. Finally, Catherine held up a hand. Ma'am, this is a NICU. We need you to keep your voice down. My mother's smile tightened. Of course. I am just so excited. Sharon made a note on her clipboard. Mrs. Sullivan, you may look at the baby through the incubator, but touching must be approved by medical staff, Catherine explained. Emma is premature, and her immune system is fragile. I understand completely. My mother leaned over the incubator. She is so tiny. Why is she so small? She was born 6 weeks early, I said quietly. 6 weeks? How did that happen? Stress, Heather said. Her voice was flat. My mother looked at Sharon. I am sure the doctors are taking good care of her. Is she going to be okay? The doctors are cautiously optimistic, Catherine said. But she needs quiet and rest. Too much stimulation can be dangerous for preemies. I will be quiet as a mouse, my mother promised. For the next 15 minutes, she stood by the incubator, making gentle cooing sounds. She asked appropriate questions about Emma's feeding schedule and medical care. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, overwhelmed with grandmotherly emotion. It was a performance. I could see through it, but Sharon was writing positive notes on her clipboard. Then Catherine got called to another incubator. An alarm was going off. She hurried across the room. Sharon followed her with her eyes distracted. My mother leaned close to me. Her voice dropped to a whisper only I could hear. "You will never win. I always get what I want." I looked at her, shocked by the sudden shift. Her grandmother mask had slipped. Her eyes were cold and calculating. "See how easy this is?" she continued quietly. "I can be here any time I want now. You cannot stop me. That evaluator loves me. By the time this is over, I will have joint custody, and there is nothing you can do about it." Sharon turned back toward us. My mother's expression immediately shifted back to loving concern. "She is just precious," my mother said loudly. "Ferdinand, Heather, you must be so proud." I felt sick. Sharon had not heard the threat. She only saw the performance. After the visit, my mother insisted on taking photos with Emma. Catherine allowed it briefly, reminding her not to use flash. My mother posed beside the incubator, her hand against the plastic, smiling widely. She posted the photos to Facebook within minutes. The caption read, "Finally got to meet my precious granddaughter Emma after being denied access for so long. So grateful the court recognized a grandmother's rights. She is perfect." The post got hundreds of likes and supportive comments. "So happy you finally got to see her. About time those kids let you be a grandmother. You were so brave to fight for your rights." The narrative was set. My mother was the victim. We were the cruel children keeping her from her grandchild. Over the next week, my mother visited Emma every day, always with Sharon observing, always performing perfectly. She brought gifts. She asked medical questions. She shed appropriate tears. Sharon interviewed us separately. She asked about our relationship with my mother, about the gender reveal party, about why we did not want her involved. "She sabotaged our party," I explained. "She has been harassing us online. She has a history of this behavior with other family members." "I have reviewed your sister's testimony," Sharon said, "but I need to evaluate this situation independently. What I have observed so far is a grandmother who seems genuinely concerned about her granddaughter. Because she is performing for you. Mr. Parker, I understand you are frustrated, but my job is to assess current behavior, not past allegations." We were losing. I could feel it. Emma came home after 2 weeks in the NICU. She was still tiny, just 5 pounds, but healthy enough to leave. The pediatrician gave us strict instructions about visitors and germs. "No unnecessary contact for at least a month," Dr. Rivera said. "Her immune system is still developing. Only immediate family, and everyone must wash hands thoroughly and avoid visiting if they feel even slightly ill." I hoped this would delay my mother's visits. But the court order superseded medical advice. Sharon scheduled supervised visits at our home twice a week. My mother arrived for the first home visit carrying shopping bags. She had bought clothes, toys, bottles, everything we did not ask for. "I know what babies need," she said, unpacking items onto our living room floor. "You two are first-time parents. You need guidance." Sharon made notes. Positive notes. Helpful grandmother providing support. Heather held Emma protectively. "We have everything we need." "Nonsense. You cannot possibly have thought of everything." My mother reached for Emma. "Let me hold her." "She just ate," Heather said. "She needs to stay upright, or she will spit up." I raised 2 children. I know how to hold a baby. Heather reluctantly handed Emma over. My mother settled into our rocking chair, positioning Emma horizontally despite Heather's instructions. Within minutes, Emma spit up all over herself and my mother's dress. "Oh dear," my mother said. But she was smiling. "See? She is fussy today. Babies can sense tension. Maybe if you two were more relaxed, she would be calmer." "That is not how babies work," I said. "Of course it is. A mother's stress transfers to the baby. Everyone knows that." She said it casually, but I saw the calculation. She was planting doubt in Sharon's mind, suggesting we were anxious parents causing Emma's normal baby behavior. After my mother left, I checked our mail. An envelope from CPS. Someone had filed a report claiming we were neglecting Emma's medical needs. The report cited the early birth and NICU stay as evidence we could not properly care for a baby. I knew immediately who had filed it. A CPS worker came to our home the next day. Her name was Angela, and she apologized for the intrusion. I am required to investigate all reports, she explained. I need to see the baby and check your living conditions. She examined Emma gently, checked our refrigerator for formula, inspected Emma's sleeping area, reviewed our NICU discharge papers. Everything looks fine, Angela said. More than fine. You are clearly devoted parents. I will close this case as unfounded. Who filed the report? I asked. I cannot disclose that information, but I can tell you it is not uncommon for reports to be filed during custody disputes. Some people use CPS as a weapon. After she left, I sat on the couch with my head in my hands. My mother was attacking from every angle. Legal, social, medical. She was relentless. My work called. They were extending my administrative leave indefinitely. The online harassment had not stopped. Someone had left a negative review on our company website mentioning me by name. It was creating ongoing problems. We were drowning in legal fees. Patrick's bill had reached $20,000. We had maxed out 2 credit cards. Heather's maternity leave was unpaid. We were eating into our savings just to pay for groceries and diapers. I cannot do this anymore, Heather said one night. Emma was finally asleep in her bassinet. Heather looked hollowed out. I cannot live like this. I know. Maybe your mom is right. Maybe we should just let her have more access. Maybe if we cooperate, she will back off. She will never back off. The more we give, the more she will take. But we are losing anyway. We are broke. You do not have a job. She is winning, Ferdinand. She was right. My mother was winning. 3 weeks after Emma came home, I made a decision. I set up a hidden camera in our living room. In our state, I had the legal right to record conversations in my own home, as long as one party consented. I was that party. During the next supervised visit, I made sure the camera was positioned perfectly. Sharon arrived. Then my mother. My mother performed as usual. Sharon took notes. Everything seemed normal. Halfway through the visit, Sharon got a phone call. A family emergency. She apologized profusely, but had to leave immediately. She would reschedule. I told her it was fine. Secretly, I was glad. This was the opportunity I needed. My mother stayed, alone with us for the first time since the court order. The moment Sharon's car left the driveway, my mother's demeanor changed. Finally, she said, "That woman is exhausting. Always watching. Always writing her little notes." She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through Facebook, barely glancing at Emma. "I thought you wanted to spend time with your granddaughter," I said. "Oh, I do. But honestly, babies this age are boring. They just sleep and eat and cry. I am more interested in establishing my rights." She said it so casually, like it was obvious. I kept my expression neutral. The camera was recording everything. "Your rights?" "Of course. I have waited too long to be a grandmother. I deserve to have a grandchild I can mold properly. You and Heather clearly do not know what you are doing. Emma is our daughter. Biologically, yes. But you will mess her up with your anxious parenting. She needs someone stable, someone experienced. Someone like you?" "Exactly like me." She smiled. "In a few months, when Sharon recommends expanded visitation, I will have Emma every weekend. Then we can really bond. I am already planning to redecorate my spare bedroom as a nursery." Heather came down the stairs with a bottle. My mother immediately shifted back to her grandmother voice. "Oh, is it feeding time already? She must be hungry, poor thing." She took the bottle from Heather and fed Emma, cooing appropriately. But when Emma started to fuss, my mother did something that made my blood run cold. She pinched Emma's thigh. Hard. Emma's fussing turned into a full cry. "Oh dear, she is so upset," my mother said loudly. "See how she is? She is such a difficult baby. You two must be exhausted." "Why did you pinch her?" Heather demanded. "Pinch her?" "I did not pinch her. She just started crying. I saw you. You saw me adjusting her position. You are imagining things, Heather. The postpartum hormones are making you paranoid." Heather looked at me helplessly. It was our word against my mother's. But the camera had captured everything. My mother left 20 minutes later. The moment her car disappeared, I checked the camera footage. It was all there. Her admission about wanting to mold Emma, her dismissal of us as parents, the deliberate pinching, all recorded clearly with audio. I called Patrick immediately. I have evidence, real evidence, of her manipulating the situation. Bring it to my office tomorrow, Patrick said. This could be the breakthrough we need. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about Sharon's assessment, about how we were losing despite being good parents, about how my mother had manipulated the entire system. The next morning, I got a call from Patrick. His voice was strained. Ferdinand, we have a problem. Your mother filed new documents with the court last night. What kind of documents? She is petitioning for full custody. She has submitted medical reports claiming both you and Heather have been diagnosed with severe mental illness and are unfit to parent. My heart stopped. What medical reports? We do not have mental illness. We have never been diagnosed with anything. I know. But she has official-looking documents with a psychiatrist's signature and everything. If these are legitimate, we are in serious trouble. If they are fake, she has committed a felony. We need to have them examined immediately. How fast can we do that? I have a contact at a forensic document examination firm, but it will cost money you probably do not have. I do not care what it costs. Do it. I hung up and looked at the forged documents Patrick emailed me. They were detailed, professional-looking. They claimed I had been diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder, that Heather had severe postpartum psychosis, that we were both on medications we had never heard of. My mother had crossed a line. She had committed fraud to try to steal our baby. But proving it would be another battle, another cost, another source of stress. Heather found me staring at the computer screen. What is it now? She asked. I showed her. She read through the documents with growing horror. This is insane. These are completely made up. I know. Can she really do this? Can she just invent medical records? Apparently she thinks she can. Emma started crying from her bassinet. Heather picked her up, holding her close. What if we lose? She whispered. What if the court believes her? We will not lose. You do not know that. She was right. I did not know that. My mother seemed to have unlimited resources and zero conscience. She was willing to do anything to win, and we were running out of strength to fight. I had not slept in 3 days. Emma cried every 2 hours for feedings, and even when she slept, I could not. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. What if the forged documents looked real enough? What if the court believed my mother? What if we lost Emma? Lydia arrived at our house at 6 in the morning. She brought coffee and a manila folder. I called in a favor, she said. A friend of mine from college works in forensic document examination. He retired from the FBI 2 years ago. He owes me. He will look at the medical reports for free. Are you serious? His name is Marcus Webb. He is expecting you at 9. Marcus's office was in a converted warehouse downtown. The walls were covered with framed certificates and photographs of him with various law enforcement officials. He was in his 60s, with gray hair and sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Let me see what we have got, he said, taking the documents from me. He spread them across a light table and pulled out a magnifying loupe. For 20 minutes, he said nothing. He just examined every inch of the papers. Finally, he sat back. These are forgeries. Very obvious forgeries, actually. Relief flooded through me. How can you tell? Multiple issues. First, the fonts are wrong. The letterhead claims to be from Dr. Harrison Mitchell's practice, but the font does not match their actual letterhead. I pulled samples from their website. See? He showed me a comparison. Real letterhead uses Garamond. This uses Times New Roman. Would a judge notice that? Maybe not immediately. But there is more. The signature is wrong. I pulled Dr. Mitchell's signature from medical licensing databases. The one on these documents does not match. Different pressure points, different letter formation. Someone tried to copy it but failed. He pointed to another section. And look at these dates. This diagnosis for intermittent explosive disorder is dated March 15, 2022. But according to public records, you did not even meet your wife until June of that year. How could a psychiatrist diagnose you with relationship-related anger issues 3 months before you met her? I had not even noticed that. So we can prove they are fake? Absolutely. I will write a formal report. This will hold up in court. And more importantly, creating false medical documents is a felony. Whoever did this can be prosecuted. My mother did this. Can you prove it? Who else would have motive? Marcus nodded slowly. Take this to the police. File charges. This is not just a civil matter anymore. This is criminal fraud. I went straight to the police station. The detective who took my report was a heavy-set man named Rodriguez. He reviewed Marcus's findings with a frown. This is serious, he said. If your mother falsified medical documents to gain custody of a child, that is fraud, forgery, and perjury. We will open an investigation. How long will that take? Could be weeks. Could be months. These things move slowly. We do not have months. The custody hearing is in 10 days. I understand. But I cannot speed up the process. What I can do is provide your attorney with a letter stating that an active criminal investigation is ongoing. That might influence the judge. It was something. Not enough, but something. I called Patrick with the news. He sounded energized for the first time in weeks. This is good, Ferdinand. Really good. We have proof of forgery. We have an active criminal investigation. We have your video evidence of her manipulating Emma. We are building a solid case. But that night, my mother launched her counterattack. She posted on Facebook again, this time with a long, emotional message. I am heartbroken to share that my son has filed false police reports against me in a desperate attempt to keep me from my granddaughter. He has accused me of terrible things, all lies. I am being criminally investigated for doing nothing wrong, all because I love my granddaughter and want to be part of her life. Please pray for me and for sweet baby Emma, who is trapped in a home with parents who are clearly unstable. I am fighting for her safety. The post was shared 900 times. Comments flooded in supporting her, calling me evil, calling Heather a terrible mother, threatening to protest outside our house, and some of them followed through. The next morning, I woke up to shouting outside. I looked out the window and saw 12 people on our front lawn. They held signs that said, "Grandparents have rights and free Emma and justice for Ellen." I called the police. 2 officers arrived and asked the protesters to move to the sidewalk, which they did. Legally, they could protest on public property. There was nothing we could do. News vans showed up. A local reporter interviewed my mother on camera. "I just want to see my granddaughter," she said, crying. "I do not understand why they are doing this to me. I have never hurt anyone. I am just a grandmother who wants to love her grandchild." The segment aired on the evening news. The reporter portrayed my mother as a victim of cruel children. They did not mention the forged documents or the criminal investigation. They did not interview us for our side of the story. My phone exploded with messages. Death threats. People saying I should die. People saying they would kill me if they saw me on the street. Heather stopped going outside. She was terrified. Emma was only 4 weeks old, and we were trapped in our own home by an angry mob that believed my mother's lies. "I want to leave," Heather said. "I want to take Emma and run away somewhere your mother will never find us." We cannot. If we leave the state, we will be in violation of the custody order. She will use that to prove we are unfit. Then what do? We survive until the hearing. 10 more days. But my mother was not done. A stranger tried to break into our house at 2 in the morning. The alarm went off, and the police came. They arrested a man named Dale Hutchins, a member of one of the grandparents' rights groups online. "I was trying to save the baby," he told the officers. "That grandmother said the baby was in danger. I was doing God's work." He was charged with attempted burglary, but the damage was done. We no longer felt safe in our own home. I installed more cameras, reinforced the locks, slept with a baseball bat beside the bed. On day 5, Sharon Miller called. "Mr. Parker, I need to update you on my evaluation." My heart raced. "What is your recommendation?" "I am still finalizing my report, but I wanted to let you know that based on my observations, I am concerned about the level of conflict in this family. Emma would benefit from a stable, calm environment. We are providing that. My mother is the one creating conflict. That is your perspective. From what I have observed, your mother seems genuinely loving and concerned. The question is whether your reaction to her involvement is proportionate. She forged medical documents. The police are investigating her. Allegations are not the same as proof, Mr. Parker. Until charges are filed, I have to evaluate what I have witnessed personally. Which is her performing for you. I have made my preliminary assessment. You will receive my full report before the hearing. She hung up. I knew what that meant. Sharon was recommending expanded visitation for my mother, possibly joint custody. We were losing. That night, my phone rang. A number I did not recognize. Hello? Mr. Parker? This is Sharon Miller. We spoke earlier. Yes? I am calling from my personal phone because I need to tell you something off the record. Okay. Your mother approached me yesterday. She offered me $5,000 to write a favorable report. I nearly dropped the phone. What? She said it was a consulting fee for my time and expertise. But it was clearly a bribe. I refused, obviously. I reported it to my supervisor. Does this change your recommendation? Significantly. I also started doing more research into Mrs. Sullivan's background after you mentioned criminal investigations. I found the warrant from Arizona. I found restraining orders from 2 other states. I found court documents showing she did exactly this to your sister. Mr. Parker, your mother has a documented history spanning decades. Why are you telling me this? Because I was wrong. I let her manipulate me. She is very good at presenting herself as a victim. But I see it now, and I want you to know that my report will reflect that. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is something else. During my last visit to your home when I had to leave early, I reviewed the security footage from your doorbell camera later. I saw your mother arrive after I left. I saw her demeanor change the moment I was gone. Mr. Parker, do you have more cameras in your home? Yes. I have a recording of that visit. I need to see it. I sent her the video. An hour later, she called back. That is damning evidence. She admitted on camera that she wants to control Emma, not just love her. She deliberately caused Emma distress. This changes everything. What about the forged medical documents? I reached out to Dr. Mitchell's office. They confirmed they have never treated you or your wife. They are furious that someone forged their letterhead. They are cooperating with the police investigation. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. But that hope was shattered at 4 in the morning. My phone rang. It was Catherine, the NICU nurse from when Emma was born. Mr. Parker, I am so sorry to call at this hour, but there is an Amber Alert for Emma. I sat up so fast, I nearly fell out of bed. What? Your mother had a supervised visit scheduled for tomorrow, correct? Yes. At noon. She came to your house tonight. Now, the supervisor called me because she could not reach you. Your mother convinced her to do an early morning visit. But when the supervisor arrived at your house with your mother, no one answered. Your mother claimed you told her to meet at a park instead. The supervisor went to the park. Your mother disappeared with Emma. That is impossible. My mother was never at our house tonight. We have been here the whole time. Emma is asleep in her bassinet. I ran to Emma's room. The bassinet was empty. No. 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 I checked every room. Heather woke up, screaming. Emma was gone. How did she get in? I shouted. Then I saw it. The back door was unlocked. The alarm had been disarmed. My mother must have copied our keys somehow. Learned our alarm code. She had taken Emma. The police arrived within minutes. An Amber Alert went out across the state. Every officer in the region was looking for my mother's car. I was frantic. Emma was only 4 weeks old. She needed her specialized formula every 2 hours. She had a pediatrician appointment tomorrow for her weight check. She was still so fragile. Where would she go? Detective Rodriguez asked. Lydia burst through our front door. I know where she is. Mom has a cabin. In the mountains, about 2 hours north. She used to take us there as kids. She mentioned it once during my custody battle. She said it was her sanctuary where no one could judge her. Give me the address, Rodriguez said. Police cars and our vehicles formed a convoy heading north. It was still dark, the roads winding through forest. Every minute felt like an hour. The cabin was small, set back from a dirt road. Lights were on inside. My mother's car was in the driveway. Police surrounded the cabin. Rodriguez knocked on the door. "Mrs. Sullivan, this is the police. Open the door." Silence. "We know Emma is in there. We can do this easy or hard." The door opened slowly. My mother stood there, holding Emma in a baby carrier. She looked calm. Too calm. "What seems to be the problem, officer?" she asked. "You took that child without permission. That is kidnapping." "Kidnapping? Do not be ridiculous. I am her grandmother. I was taking her for a visit to my cabin. Ferdinand knew all about it." "That is a lie!" I shouted from behind the police line. Emma started crying. My mother made no move to comfort her. "Ma'am, hand over the baby," Rodriguez said. "I am her guardian. The court gave me visitation rights. Supervised visitation. At scheduled times. Not in the middle of the night. Not 2 hours away. You are in violation of a court order." My mother's calm expression finally cracked. She looked at me with pure hatred. "You have ruined everything," she spat. "I gave you life. I raised you. You owe me. Hand over the baby. Now." She thrust the carrier at Rodriguez roughly. He caught it carefully and brought Emma to me. I held my daughter close. She was crying, probably hungry. But she was safe. She was alive. Police handcuffed my mother and read her rights. She screamed at me the whole time. "You have destroyed this family. You will regret this. I will never forgive you." "I do not need your forgiveness," I said quietly. "I need you out of our lives." They put her in the police car. As it drove away, I finally felt like I could breathe. The police station was fluorescent bright and cold. Detective Rodriguez led us to a small room where we could feed Emma and calm down. Heather's hands shook as she prepared a bottle. We had grabbed the diaper bag on our way out, thank God. "What happens now?" I asked Rodriguez. "Your mother is being charged with kidnapping, custodial interference, child endangerment, and violating a court order. We are also adding the charges from the forged documents and the bribery attempt. The district attorney is taking this very seriously. Will she go to jail? That is up to a judge. But with her history, the out-of-state warrant, and now this, she will likely face significant consequences." Sharon Miller arrived at the station an hour later. She looked exhausted. "Mr. and Mrs. Parker, I owe you an apology. I allowed myself to be fooled. In 20 years of doing family evaluations, I have never encountered someone quite like your mother." "What will your report say?" Heather asked. "That Ellen Sullivan should have zero contact with Emma. That she is manipulative, dangerous, and has demonstrated a clear pattern of using the legal system to abuse family members. I am recommending a permanent restraining order. No visitation, no contact, nothing." Relief washed over me. "Thank you. I am also reporting the bribery attempt to the state licensing board. I want it on record that she tried to corrupt this process." 3 days later, my mother's attorney Gregory Walsh filed a motion to withdraw from her case. He submitted a statement to the court saying he had been misled about the facts and could not in good conscience continue representing her. My mother tried to represent herself at the emergency custody hearing. Judge Morrison was not sympathetic. "Mrs. Sullivan, you have violated nearly every order this court has issued. You have forged documents, attempted to bribe a court evaluator, and kidnapped a child. You are facing criminal charges in multiple jurisdictions. I am granting the Parkers' petition for a permanent restraining order. You are to have no contact with Ferdinand Parker, Heather Parker, or their daughter Emma. No phone calls, no emails, no social media contact, no third-party contact. If you violate this order, you will be arrested immediately. Do you understand?" My mother stood silent. Her face was red, her hands clenched. "I asked you a question, Mrs. Sullivan." "This is unjust," my mother finally said. "That is my granddaughter. I have rights. You forfeited those rights when you committed multiple felonies. Bailiff, please escort Mrs. Sullivan out." The bailiff led my mother away. She did not look at me. 2 weeks later, the district attorney offered my mother a plea deal. She could plead guilty to the charges and accept 5 years of supervised probation with no contact with our family, or she could go to trial and potentially face 10 years in prison. Her new public defender advised her to take the deal. She did. As part of the plea agreement, the restraining order became permanent. All her petitions for grandparents' rights were dismissed with prejudice, meaning she could never file again. The Facebook videos were ordered taken down. Anyone who continued to harass us online faced prosecution. The protesters disappeared from our lawn. The death threats stopped. The news moved on to other stories. My work called. Garrett apologized for putting me on leave and offered me my job back with full back pay for the time I missed. "We should have stood by you," he said. "We let the noise online influence us. That was wrong." CPS closed their case entirely and apologized for the investigation. The strangest thing was the silence. After months of constant crisis, of waiting for the next attack, there was just quiet. It felt unreal. Lydia came over for dinner 3 weeks after the restraining order was finalized. She held Emma carefully, tears in her eyes. "I am so glad you fought," she said. "I wish I had been brave enough to do what you did. You helped me fight. I could not have done it without you." My daughter Grace called me yesterday. She is 23 now. She said she has been in therapy, working through everything Mom did. She wants to rebuild our relationship. That is wonderful. It is. But it also hurts, you know? All those years I lost with her, all because I did not fight hard enough. "You did the best you could with what you knew," Heather said gently. "You cannot blame yourself." "I can try not to." Emma started fussing, and Lydia handed her back to me. I held my daughter close, breathing in her baby smell, feeling her warmth. "What are you going to tell Emma about all this when she is older?" Lydia asked. "The truth," I said. "That sometimes the people who are supposed to love you try to control you instead. That setting boundaries is not cruel. It is necessary. That family is not just about blood. It is about who shows up with genuine love and respect." That is a hard lesson, but an important one. 3 months passed. Spring turned to summer. Emma grew stronger and bigger. She smiled for the first time on a sunny Tuesday morning. She learned to roll over. She started sleeping through the night. Heather's postpartum depression lifted as the stress faded. She laughed more. We both did. We had a small celebration when Emma turned 6 months old. Just us, Lydia, and a few close friends. No fancy decorations, no elaborate plans. Just people we loved, eating cake and watching Emma try to grab at balloons. I thought about the gender reveal party that had started everything. How different that day could have been if my mother had not deliberately ruined it. How much pain could have been avoided. But I also thought about what we had learned, what we had survived, the strength we had discovered in ourselves and each other. That evening, after everyone left, I held Emma while Heather cleaned up. Emma was drowsy, her eyes half closed, her tiny hand wrapped around my finger. "Hey, little one," I whispered. "Do you know how much you are loved? Not controlled, not possessed, just loved. That is what family should be. People who protect you and let you be yourself. People who celebrate you without needing to own you." Emma yawned. She had no idea what I was saying. But someday she would understand. I thought about my mother, somewhere out there, probably still convinced she was the victim, still unable to understand what she had done wrong, still believing that love meant control. I felt something unexpected. Not anger anymore, not fear, just a deep, settled certainty that we had done the right thing. Some people will never change. Some people are so broken by their own need for power that they cannot see the damage they cause. You cannot fix them. You cannot make them understand. You cannot earn their approval or their love in any healthy way. All you can do is protect yourself and the people you love. Set boundaries and defend them. Choose the family you build over the family you were born into, if that is what it takes to survive. Emma fell asleep in my arms. I looked at her peaceful face and made a silent promise. I would never use her as a weapon. I would never try to control her through manipulation or fear. I would let her be her own person, make her own choices, live her own life. I would love her without conditions, without expectations of ownership. I would break the cycle. Heather came to sit beside me. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "We made it," she said. "We did. Do you think it is really over?" "I think so. And if it is not, we know how to fight now." She nodded. "I am proud of us." "Me too." We sat there together, our little family of 3, in our quiet living room. No protesters outside. No police calls. No court dates looming. Just peace. It had cost us savings and sleep and pieces of our sanity. But we had won what mattered most. Emma was safe. Our family was intact. We had our lives back. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how things went. If I wish I had just given my mother what she wanted to avoid the conflict. The answer is no. Never. Because giving in would not have stopped her. It would have empowered her. It would have taught Emma that love looks like control, that family means sacrifice to avoid conflict, that boundaries are cruel. I want Emma to learn different lessons, that standing up for yourself is brave, not selfish, that protecting your peace is necessary, not mean, that some battles are worth fighting, especially when you are fighting for the innocent. My mother will never be part of Emma's life. Emma will grow up without that grandmother. Some people will judge us for that. They will say everyone deserves a chance, that family should forgive, that grandparents have rights. But those people have not lived through what we lived through. They have not watched someone they are supposed to trust try to destroy them systematically and deliberately. They have not had to choose between their mother and their child. I chose my child. I would make that choice again 1,000 times. As I write this, Emma is 18 months old. She is walking now, getting into everything, learning new words every day. She is happy and healthy, and surrounded by people who love her the right way. She will never remember the chaos of her first months. She will never remember the custody battle, or the kidnapping or the fear. And that is exactly how it should be. Her story starts with love, not conflict, with safety, not manipulation, with a family that chose each other, and fought for each other, and survived together. That is the story I will tell her someday. Not the painful parts, not the details that would hurt her. Just the truth that matters. That she has always been loved, always been protected, and always been worth fighting for. And if you are going through something similar right now, if someone in your family is using a child as a weapon for control, please hear this. You are not crazy. You are not cruel. You are not wrong to set boundaries. You are protecting an innocent life. You are breaking a cycle. You are doing the right thing, even when it feels impossible. Fight for your peace. Fight for your children. Fight for the family you are building, even if it means walking away from the family you were born into. Some people will never understand. Some people will judge you. Some people will believe the lies and the manipulation. Let them. The only people who need to know the truth are the ones living with you in the home you are building. The ones who show up with real love, not demands for control. Those are your people. Protect them. Choose them. Fight for them. And when it is over, when the chaos finally stops and the peace finally comes, hold them close and breathe. You made it. You survived. You won the battle that mattered most. Looking back now, I understand something I did not see in the middle of the crisis. My mother's attack was not really about Emma. It was about me refusing to be controlled anymore. About me choosing my own family, my own life, my own boundaries. She could not tolerate that independence. Some parents see their children's adulthood as loss of control, not as success. They fight against their child's autonomy instead of celebrating it. They use grandchildren as leverage to regain power. But love should not feel like imprisonment. Family should not require surrender of self. Relationships should not demand that you sacrifice your peace to maintain connection. I learned that. We learned that. And Emma will learn that too. She will grow up knowing that her parents protected her, that we chose her well-being over family obligation, that we loved her enough to endure a war. And maybe someday, if she has children of her own, she will remember that. She will set her own boundaries. She will protect her own family. She will pass down the lesson we learned at such a high cost. That real love does not require control, and real family does not demand surrender. That is the inheritance I want to give her. Not money or things, but the knowledge that she is allowed to protect her peace, that she is allowed to say no, that she is allowed to choose who gets access to her life and her heart. We broke the cycle. The generational pattern of manipulation and control stops here, with us, with this decision to fight instead of submit. Emma is free. We are all free. And that freedom, that peace, that quiet evening with my daughter asleep in my arms and my wife beside me, is worth everything we fought for. So, to anyone listening to this story, to anyone going through something similar, to anyone wondering if they are wrong to set boundaries with family, you are not wrong. You are brave. Keep fighting. Keep protecting. Keep choosing peace over obligation. Your children are worth it. Your family is worth it. You are worth it. And when it is finally over, when the storm has passed and the quiet comes, you will know you did the right thing. Trust me. I know. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? How did you find the strength to protect your peace, even when others judged you for it? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is struggling right now. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps other people who need to hear this message find it. And subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future stories about overcoming family challenges and finding peace. Share this story with anyone you know who might be dealing with controlling family members or difficult custody situations. Sometimes just knowing you are not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you found something helpful in our journey, something that gives you strength or clarity or hope. Take care of yourselves. Protect your peace. Choose your family wisely. And remember, setting boundaries is not cruel. It is love.